More breaking news. 2022 is coming in with vengeance. Vengeance, Canadians. And I'll give it that minute to let people log on. But if you haven't been watching international news today, best go look it up. Emmanuel Macron. He starts with the war on the unvaccinated, name calling, borderline swearing, just as I talk. That's coming in France, and that's a P5 member. And what's worse about that, Canada, is one of your provinces follow France's model to a T, and of course that's Quebec. It's funny how I produce RT News' basic Halloween special just 2 months ago, and where Russia's going with that in their narrative and taking on Nazism. We watched the vetoes happen. They will be vetoed again. They don't understand that system from France and UK. Neither does USA, which is really sad. And I've talked in extent about this, but it's really coming to light now. And now the war on the vaccinated is coming on. It's coming on huge. And we talk about free countries and people's choice. Different democracies are going to look at this different ways. For example, the two countries, Russia and USA. And I'm going to say this again, and I probably should have talked more about Russia. Russia and USA are very, very similar. They're always at each other's throats, but at their core, those countries are very, very close. In legal speak, regardless of their language barriers, their legal speak, as it's defined, very, very close. More than that, the way that they dress up their constitutions and the way they've designed the 50 states versus the 85 regions of Russia are pretty much the same constitutionally, even when they were the USSR. And before people go, how is that even possible? You're looking at federal systems versus those regional systems, a division of powers. Russia and USA are built really into a war strategy. Those countries are designed for war. What does that mean? It means massive ICU capacities. Both Russia and USA can enter into warlike states for much, much longer than many other countries in the world. Other countries divert their resources or are just extremely corrupt. Canada, for example, for our health budget, it's a joke what services we really get. And why is that? Because of the basic cost to the individual isn't there in Canada. Want not, waste a lot. That's what happens in socialisms. People take for granted services. Governments take for granted what they actually have to do with taxpayers' money. There's no oversight. Not for countries in civil law socialism like France and its basic core design. Weak militarily, weak in the health department, extreme levels of management, oversight, and of course it's socialist. It's a triple whammy. This is the same for much of Canada. Canada follows those models, UK and France, and then they cry like babies when nothing works out. We don't have the ICU capacity. We can't even build our way out of this, not in a socialized system. And I honestly, as a Canadian, I don't exploit or abuse the health system. I don't. Vaccinations. I'm going to say it again because these people don't want to hear it, and it has to be said. If you don't get vaccinated, you don't follow the vaccine rollouts, you're basically going to end up in ICU at a rate of 80 times more than your average vaccinated Canadian. That's reality. Anyone trying to lie their way out of that The health stats are in. Macron's losing it in his civil law socialist country. Look at Quebec, which is civil law socialist. They've chosen that as a provincial governing system. Old, they love it. Look at the Parliament of Quebec. I took Bjorkman on a journey with me to Quebec. Of any Treaty Indian from Treaty 3, the same as the National Chief. We went there firsthand. I showed Bjorkman, even in Ottawa, the disgust of the Supreme Court, the ultimate lie of the Supreme Court of Canada, which proves beyond all doubt all superior courts are the exact same lie regionally. We are never going to get out of what we are facing, Canadians, meaning massive capacity utilized for unvaccinated. And Canadians can kick, stomp, say, oh, and the answer from the unvaccinated, build thousands of ICU. Do you know what the overhead and staffing in our socialized system is going to cost the average Canadian? Already, almost 50% of our budget goes to health. It's lunatic. What do you all propose? That we tax everybody 75%? Do you want to be taxed 75%? Did you know that the average Canadian can kiss their house goodbye? That the average family won't even be able to afford a car? Now, hey, that worked great in the former Soviet Union in Chernobyl. That was the city built exactly like that. You were mandated where you worked, you were mandated what transportation system you got, and you lived in fourplex high basic apartment condos, regardless of whatever job you had. Everybody the same, which meant a shit life. Controlled by the government, mandates how you work, where you work, how far you're able to travel. Show me your papers. That exact scenario is why the Soviet Union, to what it is today, the Federation of Russia, is why Vladimir Putin, on his life, could never mandate vaccines, just from that Soviet era and all of the absolute authoritarian regime. He couldn't mandate vaccines if his life depended on it. You would see massive revolution. And why? Because his 85 regions are designed for war. That's the former Soviet Union, and that's currently the Federation of Russia. This is the same for the United States of America. Why is that? It's the same reason why there's massive nuclear bombs and arsenals of extreme firepower in both those countries. They are budgeted for it, and ICUs come with that. It's to keep soldiers fighting, soldiers going beyond any other country in the world. That's reality. And they're constitutionally, both countries are mandated that. One regionally, which I want to get my hands on those 85 regional constitutions. I will sacrifice my body for that because I don't have the money to get the job done. I will do that, and I'm going to work hard at doing that. I'm getting my booster on the 6th. You're all going to see my antibody count after the booster, and then it's off to Russia, where I will be injected with Sputnik and whatever else they like in exchange for those 85 regional constitutions in English. And should everything work out, I will come back and I will give that for free to the greatest academic institutions of the United States of America and absolutely Canada. At least 2 anyway. But US, there's going to be a lot of people I trust there that I would give that to. And then of course I'm going to do my work too, but that's moving the world forward. Canadians, you're not going to get out of the gross situation we're in. Now going on, Donald Trump Jr., everybody. He rolls out videos, it's all from his dad because his dad doesn't have the platform. I used to be able to tag a lot of these people. They still, some of them look at my stuff, a lot of academics do. But Donald Trump Jr. rolls out, and it wasn't taken well by Americans. I mean, for what usual following they have. But they had one of the Trump followers, not as long as I followed Trump, but long enough. And he goes around California, just the state of California, a massive state, massive population, over 10% of USA's population, and that's of 50 states. So they go through there and they ask the average American, what did Donald Trump do that's impeachable? What was his impeachable offenses? What makes him guilty? And if anyone hasn't been following me or doesn't understand, I've outlined what Donald Trump's guilty of, as well as Joe Biden. And I can roll out all the presidents in the last 30 years, Democrat and Republican alike, for all their gross violations of the Constitution of the United States of America, the impeachable offenses. But I'll tell you all right now, no American, and there were some smart Americans interviewed, not one could answer that. Not one. Because that's the average intelligence and the media bias just in the United States of America. I'll tell you right now, again, which I've rolled out long ago, which I got, I think 1,100 shares. I got thousands of "I hate you, I'm going to kill you" comments. Get lost, you piece of shit. But I'll tell you what he was impeachable for, and it's very easy, and any of you can look it up, and then you can think, that's the Constitution as it's written and enforceable in the United States of America. Article 2, Section 1, Clause 2. That is the gross violation. That's what Donald Trump boo-booed, and why he's a piece of shit in that regards, like any other president. And now, is Joe Biden any better? No. As president, he's already done more violations, more impeachable offenses than Donald Trump ever did. Whether you want to measure them on gravity of the situation, it does not matter, because you're breaking the highest laws of the land. You're a fucking criminal. That's reality. And I can tell you just one right off the top of my head. It's very easy. That's the Second Amendment. The right to bear arms, and further, the right to create militias to defend those rights of the people against any government. And case in point is the 3%ers down in Georgia. Biden outlawed that, which is a clear violation of the Second Amendment, as it's easily written in plain speak. Gross violation and literally impeachable. But your average everyday American doesn't understand this stuff. Your average everyday lawyer doesn't understand this stuff. That's a patheticism. But what's nice about the United States of America, you don't have to be smart there. You suffer your consequences, not at the expense of the entire population, which brings me back to unvaccinated. You're an entire expense upon all citizens of Canada, as long as we remain in socialist health medicine. Again, everybody, nearly 50% of your budget revenue, meaning your tax dollars, go to health services, which are absolutely shit. For how much we pay and what we get are absolutely shit. This is the same for France, where now Macron is on the attack. He's swearing and berating as president of France and a UNSCP 5 member. How long until Trudeau and the rest of the filthy chicken shit autocrats start to do it too? Which brings me to part 3 for anyone who hasn't been paying attention to the province of Alberta. Big news stories came in yesterday, but I was overwhelmed with other more pressing. Believe it or not, there's more pressing issues going on in this autocratic crown colonial system, where Canadians can't figure out the crown. They can't. It's unbelievable. constitutional monarchy, but they can't. Anyways, Alberta and the doom ahead for Alberta. So the radical socialized medical field, doctors of the majority screaming out, PCR tests have to be for everybody, have to be administered by health professionals. Wow. For the cost of vaccination, PCR tests come in at a whopping huge amount. And before people start jumping, no they don't, Dave. Yes, they do. It's called supply and value chains in one of the largest countries in the world with the tiniest population. The density ain't there, ladies and gentlemen. It's a monumental task to distribute that stuff throughout all the areas of Canada. Huge costs. Some PCR tests, just one to get delivered in one area, can cost as much as $400. $400. And people, lunatic-wise, this is your average dumbbell Canadian. I'm sorry, and First Peoples as well. Sorry, don't let me get this wrong or be offensive, because it's everybody. Your average idiot, the village idiot. People don't get these concepts. They don't get economics. Doctors, these are doctorates, people. Stupid, dumb, no grasp of economics whatsoever. There is no way in hell we can roll out that many PCR tests available at hand for the entire population. Run them forever and a day. We're talking literally hundreds of billions of dollars to do what they want to do and have doctors and medical staff administer them so we can log the epidemic as it really is. It's an endemic, ladies and gentlemen. The best minds in the United States of America are telling you, with Omicron and the rest, it's an endemic. If you're not vaccinated, tough titty. You're wasting our ICUs, delaying surgeries, keeping lockdowns going forever and a day. And I promise you all, the provincial autocrats, whether it's Conservative, NDP, Liberal, they love it, love it, love it, love it. And they want to expand that socialized healthcare system beyond all measure because their societal and civil society friends and non-profit just love raking in all the dough to do sweet fuck all. Do you like how I'm swearing? If you think this is bad, go check out Emmanuel Macron. It's coming to a head, ladies and gentlemen, when a P5 member, regardless of how you feel about them, leads the charge. Watch out. And again, China doesn't have to worry about it. They're already at 93% vaccinated. Second world country. You know what else? USA and Russia, like I said before, don't have to worry about it. They have monumental ICU capacity, and it comes in at absolutely individual expense with somewhat of a cost to the taxpayers that's gross, it's ugly, but not enough to wreck their system, not like Canada. Not where it's a free-for-all for everybody. The idea of a person going to ICU in the USA for the average American isn't an option. They'd rather die at home, try all these other medicines that lunatic Canadians say, yeah, me too, me too. And they have no clue what they're even talking about. That's the reality of ignorance. And the funny part is education has very little to do with it. It shows just how shitless our education system really is here in Canada. We're only a first world because we have the first people's land to exploit, use as collateral to get all kinds of debt financing from world powers. That's reality. And look who's getting rich over that. It ain't China, ladies and gentlemen. It's absolutely the United States of America, which again, they give free will and free choice. They've got that system mastered. They ain't hurting. USA federally only borrows what's bestowed upon them from the rest of the world. As long as lunatic countries like Canada go onward the way they are, USA can ramp up their borrowing too, because it's tit for tat. Again, I always tell people, read constitutions. I don't expect people to read every single one in the world like myself. Not everybody's able to do that. I get that. But that's my skill set. I've done it. At least, the very least, read, take your time, learn your own constitution. And to get a better grasp of the United States of America, if you're going to talk about it, you're going to get involved in it, and you're going to use all of their systems as gospel, at least, at the very least, read their entire Constitution and all the amendments. Maybe then you'll realize, oh boy, we are nothing like the United States. We're a sad, sorry excuse for a country, and their narratives do not fit us, not even close. Don't listen to crackpot lawyers who've never even bothered themselves. It's sad, sad, sad. Thanks, everybody. That's my video today. I know bad news is not always the greatest. It seems to be an overabundance. But somebody's got to tell the truth. Somebody's got to present the truth as it really is and try to fight back as little as that is, or what little impact it does. And then there's all those with their earmuffs on, their blindfolds on, their Harrison Bergeron mentality. I can't change the world. I can only fight as best I can. And I can only ask you, the loyal followers, share, share, share. I'm not God, I'm not Jesus, I'm not saying that, but he started out with 12 and he ended up with billions. You want to change the world? It begins with you. I need your help. I can't do it alone. Thanks. God bless. Have a great day, all of you. I know.